Great. Is this one working? Yeah, great. Yeah, education starts here. You know why? Because the only thing we have is here and now. Because yesterday is already over, and tomorrow, we don't know if we will still be there. So it starts here and now. First of all, I just wanted to make a caveat for those who speak Latin, which is that I'm not an official of the European Union anymore. So I'm a free person. I just wanted to say I don't represent the Commission here. And they insist each time I ask for an authorization for a speech, I have to repeat that I'm not speaking on behalf of the European institutions. So that was the bureaucratic part, so now we can move on to something else. I really liked your exposé, Professor, because I think you really said lots of things I wanted to say, so I will not repeat. Are we all capable of counting 1, 2, 3 in English, even though I know this is not your language? Is everybody ready to play with me? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we all stand up. I need to wake you up a little bit, I'm sorry. This is education not by theory, it will be education by practice. Okay, so we start. 1, 2, 3. I say 1, you say 2, I say 3. 1, 3. 2, 1, 3. 2. Okay, great. Now you turn towards your neighbor, left or right, and you do the same exercise. One of you says yes, 1, the other one 2. 1, 2, 3, and then you go, the more you go, the faster you go. Practice. Okay, great, you get it. So, that was easy, wasn't it? Okay. Now, a little bit more complicated. The 1 becomes 1. Wake up. Fine. Same thing with your neighbor. Try it with your neighbor. Again, same thing. You may fail once in a while. Okay, great. That was still easy, wasn't it? Next step. Okay, we will add 1, and the 2 will be 3. Okay? 1, 2. Yes, you're doing fine. Same thing, the 2 of you. It's going to be more complicated. Then we'll do 1 more. Yes, go, perfect. No pictures of the officials, please. No picture of the officials, please. Okay, great, perfect, stop. Last one, the last one, okay? You know how it functions now? The 2 of you each time. Yes, perfect. Relax, relax, relax. Okay, great, thanks. Now you may sit again. How do you feel? Thank you, Minister, for playing with us. I think she deserves a big applause. What did I want to show with this? I wanted to show what you explained to us, Professor. Life is not only about what we know, about how intelligent we are. It's also about behaving differently. This exercise shows that we can connect the left side of the brain and the right-hand side of the brain. And that's something we don't learn in schools. So I took this when you were talking about this just to show. That was great. Thanks for playing with me. Just a few things. I'm born in Luxembourg in 1957, so I'm now 61. My first boyfriend was a German guy. And my uncle, a Luxembourger, was during World War II in Germany, working for the Germans because he was obliged to go to the Ruhr during World War II. So I come to my uncle's place, 18 years old, and my uncle says, "No German will ever enter into my home." And I had a temper that was as good as today. I turned around, and the two of us left. That was my first experiment. And that's why, after being the Commissioner for Justice and having been in Poland in already difficult times, and I personally think it's in difficult times that you need friends. In nice times, it's very easy to find friends. I was asked in the Commission, what would be your favorite job? And I said to the head of cabinet of the president, I would like to be in charge of education, which is Erasmus. And he looked at me and he said, but you have a bright career. What the hell are you going to do in education? This is a second-class DG. And I looked at him and I said to him, I think you didn't get it. This is the main program of the European institutions. And that's where we start. Because as you rightly say, and I will not show it again because you did brilliantly, Professor, education is the alpha and the omega. That's Greek, it's the first and the last letter of the Greek alphabet. If we don't start by education, nothing will happen. And I'm still learning. And I think we cannot go on in a system whereby we have 2 classes, 3 classes. And I will give you a personal example. My nephew is 9 years old. He's a French guy, living in Cannes. So I go to collect this little boy from school the other day when I was there. So I enter a private school, as they have in France, only white kids. You must know that in Cannes you have a very high level proportion of people coming from Arabic migrants, not the last generation, the generation before already. And I go into this class and I'm looking for those other kids. And I was asking, but where are the others? The others are 500 meters further in a public school. But in the public school, you don't have the others. And so my question mark is, and it's a question for all of us, what's going to happen once all those people are grown up? And that's why Erasmus is really, I wouldn't say my favorite program, but it's the only program that will really help us all to live and grow up together. Because otherwise, all this idea about Europe is all nice, but we can see all what's going on for the time being. And I was talking to the minister early on. We all talk about 1 million Erasmus babies. That's fake news. We don't know. It's a figure that sounds, well, maybe it's more, maybe it's less. God knows. But is that the important thing? When I hear the Luxembourgish Prime Minister, Xavier Bettel, saying, you know, I am an Erasmus kid. He was, as a student, an Erasmus student in Athens. He didn't speak Greek at all. And Luxembourg is a little bit like a rich country, a little bit like Switzerland, where everything is well organized, etc. And then you have this Luxembourgish kid, he was 20 years old, coming to this Greek university. He wanted to register for Greek classes, but the teachers were on strike. He comes back a week later. A week later, the teachers were working again, but the administration was on strike, which for a Luxembourg student is just something they didn't even know what strike was about. And then for Christmas, he wanted to come back home. And the airline was on strike, so he couldn't come back home for Christmas because there was no flight. And he said that was the best experience. And talking to lots of students, and some of you are in here, and I share what the professor said. Of course, I would not be as provocative to say that you don't learn anything in universities. That's not true either, and it's above what I wanted to say. But again, I studied law. But my uncle and my aunts had a restaurant. And I was helping out as a waitress when I was from 17 to 22. I promise you, I learned probably more in practical terms being a waiter than what I learned in university. And then second features, as Pavel knows, I'm also a yoga teacher. And as you said early on, Professor, leading by example is the only way. Leading is the same thing than education. If you cheat your kids being a parent, they know. If you cheat your citizens being a politician, they know. They don't always understand why, but people can feel it. So the only way to educate properly is to lead by example, as you rightly say. And if I cannot play the clown on this stage talking to you, you will not follow. And that's why I'm so grateful that you played with me. Because I think it's really, it's really showing something. You can talk about things, but if you don't incarnate those things, it doesn't work. Erasmus, when I joined, was a second-hand program. I left after 2.5 years for personal reasons. But we managed the 30th anniversary campaign with your help and others. And I think this was really to show that Europe is about human values, beyond all the problems we have. I think the Erasmus generation is a European generation, whatever their political views are. And what you learn in Erasmus, and the thing which is the most important thing in Erasmus, is not what you learn in the universities. But it's about the beer you are having in the bar with your friend in the evening. When I'm in India, I say tea. Here I say beer because I'm also a beer drinker, as Pavel knows since yesterday night. Because that's the kind of things to learn to work with others together, to love each other. That's important. And when the professor was talking about artificial intelligence early on, there is one big thing the machine will never have. It's feelings. And I think all this is about feelings. With the minister, we were in Auschwitz last year, and we did it the female way because there was the Austrian education minister herself and me. And we were in the first row, and some indelicate man wanted to push us aside. And the three of us, we did it that way. And you know her, you know me, you don't know the Austrian yet, but it's the same kind of women, And that was great fun. We will never forget about that. She doesn't speak English. I don't speak Polish. But we are friends for life. And I think this is due to personal contact. And that's why education is so important. And that's why education starts from now. And now I will give you one figure, just to put this in perspective. And I need my paper because I'm very bad in figures. We all talk about the big success of Erasmus, etc. And I really wish Erasmus all the best. And you were talking about doubling the budget. That's what I succeeded before leaving. Very proud of that one. We'll see what comes out. We now have more or less help of the European Parliament to triple. We were at 15. We are talking about 30 billion. I hope we will get 45 or even more. And then I will give you one figure. In 2018, in 2018, Erasmus, by and large, 3 billion. The expenses for agriculture, 56. We have more or less 1 million Erasmus students. We have more or less 500 and something thousand farmers. I don't say farming is not important. Please don't misquote me. But I think that's my help. It means that I have to finish. It means that what is important? Do we invest in youth? Do we invest for the alpha and the omega and for education? Or do we go on investing in old structures as after World War II, where we needed food because we were hungry? This is a political choice. But now it's up to you youngsters to take over, because my generation messed it up. So you now have to take your destiny in hands and move your bodies, not to say something else. And it's really important, because, and I'll finish with this, happiness is something you don't find. Happiness is something you build or you construct. So now, please, younger generation, move up, stand up, and go for a better world, a better Europe, and 1, 2, 3. Don't forget that one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.